So you've just got your new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 7. First of all, congrats. In this video, I'm going to be going through 27 settings that you need to change to improve security, performance, battery life, and even unlock new features. Let's dive in. Right, so starting off strong, I'm going to show you how to instantly and easily download all of your favorite apps from the Play Store. You've probably carried over your data, but sometimes not all apps will carry over, and you want to make sure that you've downloaded everything that you want. So to do this, first of all, we are going to open up the Play Store like this. And then we're going to tap on to your icon here in the top right of your name. And then we're going to go into Manage Apps and Device. And then from here, we can tap onto Manage. And here we want to change from this device over to not installed, the bottom option here. And this will give you a list of all the applications that you've previously installed under your Google account that aren't yet installed on your phone. As you can see, you can even group select them to download them as a bunch. So you can simply select all the ones that you want, download them from there, and this way you'll make sure that all your favorite apps are going to be on your new Flip 7. And now I want to talk about split screen multitasking on the Flip 7, more specifically a setting that's going to allow for split screen multitasking across all different apps. You may know that by default, things like search and video applications or games won't actually work in split screen view until we enable this setting. So to do this, we're going to jump into settings and then scroll down to where we find advanced features right here. And in here, we are going to tap onto where we find labs. And then you want to turn on multi-window for all apps. And this is going to allow you to run all applications in split screen mode. By the way, if you're not sure how to do this, we're going to just open up any application, swipe up to get to your app switcher, tap onto that app icon, then type into open in split view. And then we can go ahead and scroll and add pretty much any other application that we want. And as you can see, we are now properly running two applications here on the split screen. Now, what is also cool is if we want to rearrange this, we can tap on the three-dot menu and then we can rotate the apps around if we like. We can also drag and hold to allocate more screen space to one app over the other, like so. And if, say, there's a pair that you find yourself frequently using, we can actually tap back onto that same menu, tap on the star icon, and from here we can save this app pair over to our home screen, where as you can see, we now have a new icon that will allow us to instantly jump in and go back to where we left off. You'll see that I've got one here for Chrome and YouTube. I think that's a really great combo, an iconic duo that I use often. So I love to have that shortcut right there on the home screen. And next, I want to show you how to activate one-handed mode. Now, this here is super useful, especially because the Flip 7 is a very tall device, which with one hand is going to be tricky to reach that top corner. But as you can see in one-handed mode, that suddenly becomes a breeze, making it super easy to access the corners of your display. Even things like typing on the keyboard, right? It'll be easier to reach the other end of the keyboard. And what is also neat is depending on if you're left or right-handed, we can move the mini display down to either side for easy access. And then to exit this, simply repeat that same gesture, and voila, you're out of one-handed mode. But before we can use this, we do need to make sure that this is activated, as it is not on by default. So to activate it, we're going to go into settings, and then over on the main page, go into advanced features, where we were before with that yellow icon. And then here we have one-handed mode, and you want to make sure that that is turned on. Now to activate it, you just want to do a small swipe down gesture like so. As you can see, that's going to shrink the display, and then to exit it, you want to repeat that same gesture, and that's then going to make it large again, making it much easier to use your phone with one hand. And now this next section has to do with the incredible cover screen over on your Flip 7, but let's go ahead and make it even better with some essential settings to change, allowing us to add new functionality to this cover screen. Check this out. For example, adding pretty much any application you want to the cover screen. But to do this, first of all, let's go ahead and launch the settings app, and I will show you what I mean. So to do this, we're going to go into settings, and over on the main page, we now have a new section specific here on the Fold 7, and that is going to be your cover screen icon right here. This is where you'll find all of your cover screen settings. And in here, first of all, we can tap manage to see all of our different layouts for our different cover screen lock screens, I guess you can call them. So I like these first two. These are my favorite because this gives you a lot of functionality in widgets. And this one here, I think just looks really clean. And you can also rearrange them by tapping and dragging to change the order. The first one in this list is the one that will show by default. And then if you want to remove any, simply tap on the little minus icon to remove it from there. And of course, if we want to add a new one, we can go ahead and tap on add new, and then we can create one. So we can choose, for example, a picture in our gallery. So let's go ahead and choose that here. Let's take this picture. And of course, we can tap on gallery if there's another picture that we want. Check out these wonderful selfies. And then from here, we can go ahead and scroll down and let's pick a different one. let's say this one right here for a nice city view with nice blue skies, a lovely occurrence here in London especially. And what we can do is we can customize then every element of this screen. So we can tap on the clock here, and then we have different styles to choose from, including a neat analog clock, which I think is always kind of fun. And then over here on the styles, we also do have a couple of animated clocks, which is actually a watch face, which is actually my favorite. This little animated one here. You can also choose to show or hide your weather information, and then of course change the font and the color as well. I'm going to actually make this white so it contrasts a little bit more, making it easier to read. And beneath that, if we tap on widgets, we can also add different widgets. So for example, I like to add a couple of weather widgets. So let's say your precipitation as well as your current temperature. Find those to be quite useful. And on the top right, we can choose to show your battery. I think that's useful to have as well, to show your battery percentage. And then finally, we can also change the shortcut to which app you want that to open. So by default, it is set to camera, which is actually what I use, but we can change this to pretty much any other app as well. And then once we're happy, we can go ahead and tap on done. And then from there, as you can see, that will now be set. So let me give you a quick preview of what this looks like. And there we go. There's our new cover screen ready to go on the Flip 7. Now, next I want to talk about cover screen widgets. So within the same settings app where we just left off, instead we're going to click onto widgets, and here you will get a preview of all the different pages of widgets that you currently have. And we can go ahead and add more by simply scrolling through this list of widgets that we've got on the device. Let's say device care, and let me go ahead and add a big one here. That's going to add a new page, and why not add one for the clock as well? Good world timer, and then we get a calculator as well. So as you can see, we have now modified this. We can also tap and drag to orient these differently, and then if we want to edit any of these widgets, we can simply tap on it, and that will then allow us to choose what we want to show. So here I've got a gallery widget. This will let me choose which image or multiple images I want to show on that gallery. And if we go back here, you'll see that we can also change the shape of that widget, which I think is kind of a neat touch. We can actually change that to be a little bit more unique and to match your style. But just to show you again, once again, what I mean, so with the widget page that we've just created, go ahead and unlock the phone and then swipe to the right. And if we swipe along here, there it is. Oh, no, there it is. There's the page that we just created with those new widgets. A great way to get a lot of app information at a glance right on your cover screen. Now, there's one particular page that you may have seen, and that is particularly interesting, and that is this one right here. And this page here is going to allow you to launch any application and run any application right on your cover screen. Now, this isn't going to be possible by default, so we do need to download a few things and actually set this up. So let me show you how to do this now. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is launch the Samsung Store. Now, important to note that this is different from the Play Store. Let me just pull them up here side by side. There you go. The Samsung Store is the one on the left. The Google Play Store, that's the one on the right, the one you probably use most. In this case here, we're going to go into the Samsung Play Store, and in this case, we're going to search for an application called Good Lock. There it is, and it's the first one right here, and you want to go ahead and download that. That will be free, should be very quick to download. And then once you've downloaded that application, we'll go ahead and launch it. And as you can see, Good Lock will now launch. And then within this application, we are going to scroll through this list of downloads and search for Multistar. Now, Multistar, it's kind of an add-on that you can download to this application to bring even more functionality to your Flip 7. And you want to make sure to download Multistar. Again, you'll find that in this list. Simply tap on download, wait for that to download, and from there we can launch it. And then in here, we are going to tap onto I Heart Galaxy Foldable. And then we're going to tap onto Launcher Widget. And as you can see right here, this is the Launcher Widget in which we can pretty much add any application that is currently on our phone. As you see, we can remove, we can add as much or little as we like. Let's go ahead and fill this here. Let's throw in Gemini. And last but certainly not least, let's add in messages. Oh, I already have messages. Let's do Outlook. Why not? Add that in there as well. And then as you can see, we now have all of these apps ready on the Launcher Widget. Now, the final step is, of course, to add the Launcher Widget to your cover screen. And to do this, we need to go back and then open up the Settings app once again and go back to cover screen where we were earlier. And then here under widgets, we now need to add that new page. So what you want to look for is you want to look for Multistar. So it'll be under M. And then here we can add the app launcher. Now, I already have mine here. You can only have one page. You can see there it is. But if you don't, simply tap it in and that will allow you to add it. So for example, if I remove it, go and add it, and boom, there it is. And then from here, we can now go back, save that, open up the cover screen, double tap here, unlock it with your fingerprint, and then swipe to the right, and there it is. Check it out. Here's all the applications, including Outlook, the one that we just added, and from here we can literally launch and control pretty much any application on your phone. YouTube here is great. I also really like the ability to just look at messaging apps, right? To always be able to quickly read messages, also respond to messages. The keyboard here is surprisingly good. Let me go ahead and show you. It's actually really easy to type on. So, hi, my name is Dion. And there we go, as you can see. So a really usable keyboard for a quick response to a message if you like as well. So this here lets you get a lot more functionality out of your cover screen, not just by setting up really useful pages of widgets. You also customize your cover screen to really make your phone feel like your own. And then lastly, by adding in all those different applications, basically letting you use this as a proper second display on your phone, which is made even better on the Flip 7 because of course the cover screen is so much larger than before, giving you more screen real estate, making it all the more enjoyable to use. And next, I want to talk about some battery saving settings to change. So the first one has to do with notifications. So we're going to go into settings and scroll to where we find notifications. And then in here, we're going to tap onto app notifications. And in here, you're going to find an extensive list of all the applications on your phone that will want to send you notifications. Now, chances are by default, most of these are probably going to be on, but my advice is to do an audit, go through all the applications and see which you do or don't want to allow to send you notifications. As, like I said, by default, most are probably going to be on. And if you get dozens, if not over 100 notifications per day, that really adds up, as every time a notification comes in, your screen turns on, your speaker may go off, and your vibration motor vibrates. And like I said, this really adds up over time. So if you decrease the number of notifications coming in, so turn off the ones that you don't need, then that's going to save you a lot of battery over time, and also be good, I think, for your mental health, right? Because you're not going to be distracted as often throughout the day. This way, when you know when a notification comes in, you know it is something important. So the ones I keep on are going to be things like messaging apps, finance apps, and turn off are going to be things like your shopping applications, certain utility apps, or reward members apps, right? Things like that, games that don't need to be bothering me throughout the day. So I recommend you audit this for both your mental health and of course your battery as well. Now, speaking of the battery, let's take a look at a crucial setting to turn on to help preserve your battery health, making your phone last longer and ultimately get a better experience out of your phone and save you from an expensive repair. So to do this, we're going to jump into settings, tap onto battery, and then in here, we're going to turn on battery protection. So you want to make sure that that is turned on. And in here, we actually have different layers of protection. So I recommend you go for basic and adaptive protection. Now, let me briefly talk to you about what it is this does. So first of all, basic is going to keep your phone from remaining at 100% capacity for longer, because this is not good for your battery health. You actually want it to be below that 100% threshold. So this is going to keep it between 100 and 95%. That is good. And then secondly, we have adaptive protection, and this is going to kind of learn your charge habits and charge your phone accordingly. So let's say every night before you go to sleep, you plug in your phone at 11 p.m. It's going to charge from, say, I don't know, 20%, whatever you have left, up to 80%, but then wait with the remaining 20% till closer to when you typically wake up and unplug your phone, let's say at 7 a.m. Now, why does this matter? Well, this is going to stagger the charge, so your phone won't charge as fast. That's going to produce less heat, and heat is probably the number one killer of your battery health. So staggering the charge is going to go a long way to maximizing your battery health. So once again, I recommend you go for basic and for adaptive protection. Now, you do have the option here to set maximum battery protection. That's going to let you set a hard limit to your battery capacity. You can cap it at 80%. Now, in theory, this is going to be the best approach if you really want to preserve battery health. But for me, and I imagine for most people, sacrificing battery capacity, let's say 20% or so, is quite a lot, especially on the Flip 7. This phone has many strengths. Battery life, I don't think really is one of them. That's why I've got a lot of battery life-saving tips in this video. But generally speaking, I think basic and adaptive protection is what I use, and that's what I recommend you do too. Now, next I want to talk about enabling the flip phone within your Flip 7. Now, this is a flip phone after all, and there's a couple of really cool features that I want you to turn on in your phone app. So let's go into the phone app, and then we're going to tap onto that three-dot menu and tap onto where we find settings. And then in here, we are going to tap onto flip options. Now, by default, all of these are going to be off, but I recommend you turn on open to answer calls and then turn on close to end calls. This way, when you're getting a call, you can simply open your phone to answer it, and then when you're ending a call, you can just close it to end it. There are a few things more satisfying in this world. No, I am kidding, of course, but it is part of the fun of having a flip phone, right? Simply open the phone to answer and then close it to end. It gives a very nostalgic feel, and to unlock that, you want to make sure that these settings are on. Now, another setting related to the phone app that I highly recommend you turn on is block caller ID and spam protection. Caller ID and spam protection, you want to make sure that there is turned on. Now, you do need a SIM card in your phone. I currently do not have one, but if you do, this will be enabled, and you want to make sure to turn this off. Now, this won't exactly block spam calls from coming in, but what it's going to do is it's going to warn you if it suspects that the call you're getting is a spam call, saving you from having to answer it and listen to it first. I get spam calls probably every couple of days, so this is a really useful feature I recommend you turn on. Of course, if, however, you do ever end or take that spam call to hang up, you can do a satisfying close of the phone to hang up that way and tell that scammer to not waste your time. Next, I want to talk about auto wake. Auto wake is when you pick up your phone and the screen will automatically turn on. This, I think, is very useful, particularly on the fold, because you get that cover screen, so you want to get a quick glance of your display without having to double tap it or press the side button here to wake it. But there is a setting that you want to turn on if it is not turned on already, or perhaps you accidentally turned it off. To do this, we're going to go into the main page of the settings app right here, and then we're going to scroll to where we find advanced features, and then in here we are going to go into motion and gestures, and here you want to make sure lift to wake is turned on. Like I said, this way when your phone is on a table and it is off, you pick it up, it will automatically turn on. This doesn't just apply to the cover screen, also here to the main display. Now, if you are a battery saving diehard, if you really want to save as much battery as possible, you could choose to turn this off, as it will of course consume a bit of power. But I think this is one of those instances where the functionality, or rather the convenience that the feature brings, outweighs the little bit of battery that it uses. So I want to present you with both options so you can decide what's best for you, but I recommend you keep it on, I think, for most cases. Secondly, I think double tap to turn on and off the displays are also useful features. So if, say, your phone is on a table and you don't want to pick it up, you can just do a quick little double tap as opposed to finding the very small side button. So I suggest you turn on both of those as well. And next, I want to show you auto unlock in safe places. Now, this is a really cool feature called extend unlock, and this is something that you do have to turn on in settings. So let me first show you where and how to do this. So what you can do is go into settings and then tap onto lock screen and AOD. And then in here, the second option, extend unlock. You type in your phone's PIN. And here we go. So here we have what is extend unlock. We're going to go ahead and tap onto got it. And here we can turn on or on body detection, as well as trusted places and trusted devices. So what are these going to do? Well, first of all, on body protection, let's say hypothetically you are using your phone and you put it in your pocket, then take it out again. Your phone is going to detect that you are the one using it. So allow your phone to remain unlocked so you can just quickly open your phone and get right back to what you're doing without having to unlock with your fingerprint or, say, your camera. This is really useful. And there's also trusted places. So if you want to, for example, you can add your home as a trusted place. That way, when your phone knows it's in your home, it will remain unlocked. Again, making it easier to use, more convenient, only within that trusted place. So as soon as you leave home, it will, of course, detect that through GPS and then stop it. And of course, there's also trusted devices. This here would go for attached accessories, like, for example, your smartwatch or maybe even your cars. If you plug it into your car, it will automatically unlock as well. So all of this here really is meant to give you faster access to your phone in a usually safe way. So this is the kind of thing I don't recommend for everyone, but for the ones that are okay with this, I think it can make it more convenient to use your phone. Again, you don't have to type in your password all the time or use your fingerprint. It's just when you're in those safe places, it will remain unlocked. Now, also important thing to note with the body detection in particular, I've tested this, used this several times. it will stay unlocked for up to 4 hours. Every 4 hours, it's still going to ask you for your password, which I think is really essential. I think the one of these, though, that I would actually probably use most is going to be trusted places. So when you're at home, it is kind of convenient. But outside of that, it's just good to have a password, right, to protect all the personal data that is on your phone. And this next part is always fun. I want to show you some really essential settings to change to make your camera even better. So to start, let's launch the camera app and make sure that we are in photo mode. And first, I want to show you how to change the resolution of your photo. So to do this, up here in the top, you will see either 12M or 50M, and 12 megapixel will be the default. And then we can upgrade it up to 50 megapixel if we want to unlock the full potential of that more powerful main camera that we get on your Flip 7. Now, there's a couple of pros and cons associated with each. So with 50 megapixels, you will find that yes, you get better quality photos, but of course the file sizes of those photos will be larger. And secondly, notice in 50 megapixels, we can't change to the ultra wide lens or the 2x lens. When we switch back to 12 megapixels, check this out, those new focal lengths will be unlocked. And that's because only the main sensor is going to be that more powerful 50 megapixel sensor. So which should you use? Well, in my opinion, for day-to-day use, the 12 megapixel is just going to be fine, especially because it gives you those additional focal lengths. However, if say you're at a wedding or at a special event and you want to unlock the best quality for your camera, then I would recommend switching over to 50 megapixels for those special occasions. And now let's take a look at video mode. So similarly to photo, we can of course change the resolution of our video as well. So up here we have UHD 30. This will be the default. Now UHD I think is the perfect setting. That is 4K. It's going to give you the best quality video. Then we can change the frame rate from either 30 or 60 FPS. Now I recommend you do 30 FPS for pretty much everything. Only go to 60 if, say, you are filming sports events or something that you intend to slow down. Otherwise, it's just going to take up extra storage that I don't think is worth it. So UHD, 4K quality, crisp video in 30 FPS is the way to go. Now, let's go back to photo mode and dive deeper into the settings. So we can tap on this 4-dot icon. And then we're going to tap on the little settings icon here. And a couple things that we want to make sure are turned on. First of all, scan document and text I think is useful. This way, when you point your camera at a document, it can detect that and then scan that. Same thing goes for QR codes, very useful as well. And beneath that, we have intelligent optimization. Now, intelligent optimization, what this does is it's essentially going to make your photo look even better. It's going to take more data in terms of the light, in terms of the color output, to give you better dynamic range and overall make your phone look better. The only downside though is that this way it will take a little bit longer to take the photo. So if you are, again, capturing a sport event, you want to rapidly tap that shutter button, get a lot of pictures in, then you want to set this to minimum, as this way there's going to be no optimization and you can just spam that button and capture, dozens of photos per second, which is great for that occasion. But otherwise, I would set it to maximum. It really does visibly improve your pictures. Then we have Scene Optimizer. This is something I suggest you turn off. Now, this is going to use Samsung's intelligent camera system to kind of predict what it is you are capturing based on what's in the viewfinder and then adjust your color profile accordingly. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're outside and you are taking a picture on a nice sunny day. It's going to really pop up, bring up those colors and make it super vibrant. Now, in my experience, I think Scene Optimizer generally overdoes it. It will either overcorrect in most cases to where I actually prefer to have this off and just take a slightly more realistic, more true to life picture that I can then always edit if I like after that. So definitely suggest you turn that one off. And then if we scroll down to video settings, we have one very important setting that you should always turn off, and that is auto FPS. Now, what it basically is going to do is it's going to lower the frame rate of your video, so lower than 30. It might even go to like 10 FPS, for example, to keep a brighter image. And yes, it does typically keep a brighter image. However, your video will appear very choppy. It won't be smooth. It's just not consistent. I think it looks very unprofessional personally, because no real proper camera would ever do that. So I definitely suggest you turn this one off. And then in there, we also have advanced video options. You can change your recording format. I will go with HVAC, as that's going to be a lot more efficient, save you more storage. HDR video is something you can turn on or off. I like to have this off. This is when you're scrolling through Instagram and there's one post that's super bright and blinds you late at night. That is HDR video. Of course, the advantage of HDR is it will give you more dynamic range, so the brighter parts are going to be super bright, the darker parts are going to be very dark. But generally speaking, and I think especially for social media use, I prefer to turn it off. I turn it off. I don't really shoot in HDR, generally speaking. The last thing here is going to be the composition guide, and that I suggest you turn on and set this to your grid lines and level, and that's just going to help you align your shot. As you can see, we've got the rule of thirds here on there, so you can kind of align objects along either third of the display, and we got this little leveler right here if you're shooting top down, or if you are shooting forward. You can see we got a level here too. Watch this. I can go ahead and angle it to see that move, to make sure that my shot is properly in frame. So those are a couple of settings there to really make the camera on your Flip 7 even better. But now I want to talk about using the camera on the Flip 7 because, of course, unlike most other phones, you have that outer display, and that makes it a wonderful, wonderful camera because you can enable it by just swiping along the little camera icon here. Swipe to the left, and as you can see, hello everyone, that will then launch your camera. I suggest you turn it over to have your camera set to the top and then the preview set below. And to take a picture, we can go ahead and just tap the display, or we can actually use our hand, hold it up, and you can see there's a 2-second countdown. And there we go. It's then going to give you that group photo. And because the display on the Flip 7 is going to be larger than before, we actually have more camera controls built into. So first of all, we can also change the focal length. We can zoom in. We can go to the ultra wide. That's going to be good for, say, those group shots. And also, if we swipe into video mode to start a recording, simply tap the screen. Check out this cool little record light around the lenses. I think that's a really neat touch. But because this is also a fold phone, we can partially unfold the phone and, well, as you can see, kind of have a built-in tripod, right? I'm now talking to camera, talking to you guys. Let me change the focal length here. There we go, back to 1x. And I don't need a tripod. I can just prop my phone up. And again, because I'm using the back cameras as opposed to the selfie camera inside the phone, we are getting much, much better quality. So in that sense, this phone really enables for wonderful quality selfies, especially again for those group shots, because the phone is such a comfortable small size. It's so easy to hold. You can just hold it up, get the group shot or that selfie using those rear cameras for the best quality. So I think the Flip 7 camera is really one of my favorite parts and absolutely shines here on this form factor. But enough of the camera, let's take a look at some home screen settings. So we're going to jump into settings here and then scroll to where we find home screen right here. And then in here, first of all, we can actually change the app size, so we can make it smaller, as you can see, like so, or we can make it larger. Now, this won't impact how many icons you can have on your home screen. That's a later setting, which we'll look at. But this here allows you just to change the size. We can also turn on or off your app labels. I think that is a super clean look, particularly when you combine it with the widgets without having labels as well. That's something you can turn off. Again, same with widget labels as well. But then to change the actual grid size, or to determine how many apps you can have on your screen, that's going to be the second setting here. So by default, it's going to be 4:6, and we can also change this now to 5:6. And the 5 here refers to the amount of icons you can have in width. So you can have more icons along the width of your display. Of course, the icons will be a little bit smaller, but you will be able to fit in more if that is something you like. Now, one other setting in here that I'd like to show you is going to be rotate to landscape mode. I think that's one to turn on as well. So say you are using your phone in landscape, you come back to the home screen, you can now rotate it to landscape mode. And this little icon will appear. There it is. You want to tap on that, and there we go. As you can see, that's then going to rotate the OS to fully work here in landscape mode. I don't use this often, but it's nice to be able to continue using your phone like this. Like I said, if you're already in landscape mode, and then simply bring it back, tap that same icon to bring it back to portrait mode. Now, I want to take a look at the app drawer, as there's a couple settings here I recommend you change, really just one actually, and that has to do with organizing the apps in here. We can tap on the 3-dot menu, tap onto sort, and you want to set this to alphabetical order. This way, if you have a lot of applications installed on your phone, it's just going to be much easier to find them. Know that A is at the top, Z is at the bottom. You can also swipe here along the right side of the screen to go to a specific letter in the alphabet, again making it easier to find any given app on your phone. And next, I want to show you two settings to help make your Flip 7 run even faster or smoother. And the first has to do with clearing up the RAM or memory in your phone. So if ever you feel like it is acting slow, what you can do is jump into settings and scroll to where we find device care right here. and then we want to tap onto memory and then watch it check. This will currently see the usage of memory within your phone, and as you can see, we only have 2.9 gigs available. However, if we clean this up, we will in theory get up to 5 gigabytes of memory free. So this is going to close certain background tasks, apps that are running, and that's going to give you a lot more RAM, making your phone run faster. Now, a quick tip as well, you can do this within the device care settings like I showed you here. However, we can also set up a widget like I've got here, allowing you with a single tap on the little brush here to do the same action. There you go. Phone has been optimized to clear the memory. And to show you which widget this is, we're just going to pinch outwards, tap onto widgets, and then we're going to scroll to where we find device care, and it's that first widget there, and you can add that right to your home screen. And again, just a quick tap of the brush here to clear your RAM and ultimately make your phone run faster. Now, the next thing I want to show you is a useful feature that will automatically restart your phone if it is ever needed. So to do this, we're going to jump into settings, and from there back down to device care here all the way at the bottom, and then we're going to scroll down to where we find auto optimization. And here you want to turn on auto restart. Now, this is going to restart your phone if ever it is needed. Now, this will never happen while you're using your phone or say during the day. This only happens late at night or when you're not using your phone. This has never disturbed me. And this way your phone is always running as best as it should, because your phone, just like most tech actually, it's good to restart it every once in a while to reset, for example, system cache files and things that build up over time. Now, I want to talk about better sound quality on your Flip 7. So to do this, let's jump into settings, and then we are going to scroll down to where we find sound and vibration right here. And then in here, we can tap onto where we find vibration intensity right here at the bottom. And here, what's really neat is we can change the vibration intensity depending on what is happening on the phone or what is coming in. So, for example, say your phone is in your pocket, you receive a call or a text message, you want the vibration to be at maximum intensity so you don't miss it. But if, say, a system notification comes in or something related to media, you may want to turn it down, because this way you can kind of over time start to differentiate between what's coming in. So this way, when your phone is in your pocket, and you have it on silent, which I have mine on pretty much always, depending on the intensity of the vibration, I can kind of gauge what is coming in. So I recommend you set that up this way as well. And then from there, we're going to scroll down to where we find sound quality and effects. And first of all, we can turn on Dolby Atmos. If you're watching movies and videos or certain more recent music, it is particularly great to have Dolby Atmos sound, as it gives you that really 3D effect when you're using your headphones. So something I recommend you turn on and then set to auto to make sure that this will turn on when it's appropriate. And then secondly, we do also have an EQ built in. I've got a lot of questions about this. We have several presets to choose from, and of course you can also customize this further if you want yourself. Personally though, I don't really like to have a system-wide EQ, but this is where you find it for those who may be looking for it. Now, the next feature I want to show you is how to lock an application. So let's say you hand your phone off to a Uber driver or whatever to show an address, let's say to check the weather. Okay, maybe not the weather, but just as an example. And you want them to look at that specific application, but not be able to go home and swipe through other things like your messages, your photos, your whatever it is, right? You just want them to stay within that app. Well, there's a really good security and privacy setting that we first need to enable that will then allow you to lock someone within a specific app. So to turn this on, first we're going to jump into settings and then scroll to where we find security and privacy right here. And then in here, we can go ahead and scroll down to where we find more security settings. And here we have allow apps to be pinned. Pinned really is just another word for locked. With this on, we can go back to any application. So let's say our weather app here that we want to pin. And to pin this application, you want to swipe up to your app switcher, tap on the icon, and then right here we have pin this app. And as you can see, this app has now been pinned. So check this out. I can't swipe home. I can't swipe down to my notifications. This app is pinned. I can use the app, but nothing more. And this again is a very secure way to make sure that someone stays within the app that you want them to stay on if you're handing your phone to, like I said, like a stranger or something. Now to unpin an application, what you want to do is swipe up from the bottom and then hold, and then you'll be prompted to use your fingerprint or type in your password to unpin the app. And well, as you can see, it now works again like normal. Now, next, I want to take a look at the side button. The side button, of course, can be customized. And as you can see, I've set mine here to trigger the torch. Very useful feature if, say, I need this late at night. But to customize this, what we're going to do is jump into settings, and then over on the main page of settings, go into advanced features. And from here, we're going to tap onto side button. And then here, first of all, you want to enable a double press, and then tapping on that will allow us to choose what we want that double press to do. To open, for example, a specific application, we can choose pretty much any app or a system function, like, for example, the torch, which is what I personally recommend. And then personally, or below that, we can also choose what a long press does. Now, by default, this is going to be set to the new Gemini Google Assistant, which I think is a big upgrade over Bixby, so something I actually use. But if you'd like, the old school approach would be to bring up the power off menu if you like as well. Now, of course, an alternative way to access this would be to just set this to digital assistant, and then when you want to turn off your phone, swipe down from the quick settings menu and tap on the power button there. Very simple to do as well. So recommend you customize the side button in here. And now let's talk about the display. Now, of course, the display on the Flip 7 is going to be one of its best features. We looked at the cover screen earlier, but now let's focus on the main display, which, of course, will be the one that you use most. So within the settings app, we're going to scroll here to where we find display right here, and let me talk you through a couple of these settings. So first of all, we can go ahead and change between light and dark mode. Now, dark mode is generally recommended if you want to save battery, because these are OLED displays, so the black pixels, which is going to be a lot of them in dark mode, will be actually off, and that's going to help save you some battery. The only downside to dark mode, aside from it, of course, the visual appearance, it's not as easy to read in daylight, but at night though it's great, is that I find that the crease, while much less visible on the Flip 7 compared to previous flip phones, you'll see it's still more visible in dark mode than it is in light mode. If you've got dark content on your screen, you can just see it a little bit more, particularly outside and then on dark mode than in light mode. So that's something to bear in mind. Personally, I actually like to use both. So I have set it to light mode during the day, and then on a schedule, I set it to run in dark mode at night. Beneath that, we have your brightness. So, of course, you can change your toggle. You can set this to adaptive brightness or auto brightness, something I normally recommend you turn on. I'm filming at the moment, so I want my brightness to be static, but you can turn this on, and I would recommend that. Then we have motion smoothness, and you want to make sure that it is set to adaptive. So this is going to unlock the variable up to 120 hertz refresh rate on your phone, giving you a much smoother experience with really any motion on screen. Standard would just lock it to 60 FPS, and by comparison, it's going to feel a little bit choppy compared to adaptive. So make sure you're set to adaptive to really take advantage of the quality of this excellent folding screen. Now beneath that, we have eye comfort shield. So if I turn this on, you'll see that the temperature of the display becomes a little bit warmer, and what that's going to do is it's going to adjust the temperature to your surroundings. So I'm in my studio right now, and it's made it a little bit warmer. It's just going to make it a little bit more pleasant to look at. I think this is a useful feature to turn on. One exception would be if, say, you are editing photos, when you want to make sure that your colors are as accurate as possible. Beneath that, we have screen mode. This will allow you to choose between natural and vivid. Now, in the past, I think vivid has been a little bit too saturated for my taste, but Samsung has really perfected this over the time to make it more pleasant, I think, to the eye and more realistic. And you can see here how the two compare. So natural gives a slightly colder, almost what looks like a slightly more washed out look, where vivid just brings a little bit more pop. And I think, again, with recent phones from Samsung, vivid is definitely the way to go. Now, beneath that, I want to check out the screen timeout. So this one here is useful for battery, but also for security reasons. And this is going to determine how long after inactivity do you want your display to turn off. Let's say you leave it on a table like this. I recommend you set this honestly to as short as possible. 15 seconds, maybe overkill. Well, let's say a minute or so. Because I'm filming, I set it a little bit later, but normally speaking, I keep this really short. This way, if ever you do leave your phone unlocked, you know that it will be locked by itself pretty quickly, which is good for security, and again, battery as well. Your display won't be running. And importantly, you turn on the setting, keep screen on while viewing. So let's say you're looking at a static page of text, you're reading an article or something, and it takes you more than a minute. You don't want your screen to turn off, but it will then use the camera to see that you're looking at the phone, and then keep it on. So that will be my recommendation there. Unless you're filming a YouTube video like me, in that case, setting it to a little bit higher is useful. Now, next I want to talk about probably one of the most underrated features of Galaxy phones that I think see very few people use, and that is the Edge panel. Now, the Edge panel is a super useful feature, particularly on the Flip 7 and particularly for split screen multitasking, which I know we looked at earlier, but this here is going to make that even better. So let's take a look at the Edge panel. So first of all, you want to make sure that you turn this on if it is off, and then in here we can tap in to customize this further. So first we can show what kind of information you'd like your Edge panel to show. You have different things like contacts or certain widgets. I would set this to apps. I think that's by far the most useful feature, and we can also customize this. So here on the right, you'll see the apps that are currently within your Edge panel. We can go and add more if we like as well. Simply drag and hold them in. Oh, there we go. Simply drag and hold them in, and we can add more apps if we like as well. This will make it a little bit wider. I like it to be more on the thin side, so just really shortlist your favorite apps, and then up here you get a couple of neat AI features for the Flip 7. But let's say you set this to apps, which is what I would recommend, and then we can change the handle. So the handle is going to be this very little line you see here on the left hand of the screen. That's going to be how you activate your Edge panel. So it's very subtle, which I think is great, and then you can also reposition it. So I recommend you position this to just above where you normally swipe to the left, from the left on your phone to close an app. This way you're not accidentally bringing up your Edge panel. So I have it set slightly above. Of course, if you are right-handed, you probably want to have this on the right-hand side of your screen to make it easier to access. I am left-handed here, and we can go in and change the color, change the transparency as well. This here, I'm not too picky about, honestly. It's really more about the position. But now let me show you what this can actually do. So if you take a look at my home screen, you get this very faint little line here along the left-hand side. And if I swipe in, you can bring in your Edge panel. So like I said, you can quickly launch any application from here. But what is also really neat is the ability to quickly start a split screen session, right, using the Edge panel. So instead of having to first go to your app switcher and bring in a second app, I can just swipe in to bring in the Edge panel. And check this out. Take Chrome, drag and drop right there, and boom, just like that, we've started a split screen multitasking session. Now, if there is an application in here that you want to open that may not be in your Edge panel, we can also tap on this little 9-dot, I believe, yep, 9-dot icon here to bring up your app switcher and pretty much be able to pull up any application from there as well and start a multitasking session. So this here is really useful, again, because it's so subtle, you barely even see it's there. And if you position it right, it never gets in the way. But then when you do need it, it is always there and super useful. Speaking of super useful, let's go back one setting here, or one page, to the navigation bar. So let me show you a quick before and after. This is going to be the default on many Android phones, most Android phones. It has been for years, and that is that 3-button layout, which works. But I think swipe gestures is definitely better and the way to go. It replaces those 3 buttons with just a very small little bar at the bottom. And this is great because it actually gives you more screen space. Check this out. If I open up the gallery app here, let's pull up a picture. There we go. You'll see that this takes up less screen space compared to the 3-button layout that we just looked at. There it is. As you can see, that will take up more screen space compared to just having the swipe bar. And what is also neat is the swipe gestures also enable some new controls. So what I really like is that you can just swipe to the left or right along the swipe bar to quickly cycle between your apps, swiping along the home bar here. So this is something that you can't do with the button layout. So I definitely recommend you switch to swipe gestures. And then once you've done that, make sure that circle to search is on. Now, circle to search is one of my favorite AI features on the Flip 7. And let me give you an example of what this does. So you want to bring up anything on screen. This could be in your gallery or say a YouTube app, whatever it may be. Press and hold on that home bar. We get this cool little UI, and then we can just circle anything on screen to learn more through a Google search. We have AI here, which is going to give you an AI overview of what it is you're looking at, and then we'll do a cross image search, a reverse image search to show you images of what it is that you looked at. So definitely a really useful feature. Again, easier to access once you've turned on swipe gesture. So just another reason to turn on swipe gestures. And next, I want to talk about 3 top security settings that you need to change here on your Flip 7. And the first has to do with app protection. So over on the main page in settings, we are going to scroll to where we find device care, and then tap onto app protection. And if this is not on already, you want to turn on the 3-dot menu here, tap on app protection settings, and then you want to turn this on. Now, what is this going to do? Well, this is going to periodically scan your phone, scan through all the applications on your phone to look for any kind of malware or viruses. And if anything is found, you will then be prompted to remove it immediately. And as you can see, we can also do a manual scan like this. But the beauty of this is it runs in the background every once in a while. So definitely something I suggest you turn on. on, hope to never need, but it's just reassuring to know that it is there. Now, next I want to talk about unlocking your Flip 7, as by default on Samsung there's many different ways to do so, but they are not all made equal. In fact, some are ones that I recommend and others I don't recommend you use. So let me show you what I mean. To do this, we're going to go into settings and then tap onto lock screen and AOD. And then in here we have screen lock and biometrics. Type in your PIN. And there we go. And here we have all the different methods of unlocking your phone. So let's start off with biometrics. These, of course, will be the most used ones. You can choose between fingerprints or face recognition. And here I recommend you choose fingerprints over face recognition. Face recognition on Galaxy phones, like on most Android phones, is not as comprehensive as Face ID is, say, on iPhone. So it doesn't actually use a 3D scan of your face. So it is more easy to trick and just not as reliable, particularly in very bright, sunny conditions, I found too. So instead, I recommend you switch over to fingerprints. This is really where Samsung shines. They have excellent ultrasonic fingerprint sensors, either under screen on some models or here on the Flip. We have them, of course, on the side. It works super well, and especially once you set multiple fingers, like your index and your thumb, no matter how you grip your phone, it's just super quick and easy to unlock. So fingerprints over facial recognition. And then when it comes to your secondary method of unlocking, I suggest either PIN or password, as pattern is going to be a little bit easier to guess or for someone to see. And then, of course, swipe. Well, swipe is very ineffective. So I recommend you go PIN, password, and then fingerprints. Now, next, I want to take a look at notifications. I know previously we looked at auditing your notifications, but this one is going to be more security related. So if we go into notifications here in settings, and then from here, we're going to tap onto hide content when locked, and you want to make sure that that is turned on. Now, this way, when a notification comes in, it will show you, let's say that you've received a message, but the content of that message won't be shown until you've unlocked your phone, whereas otherwise it will show, and I don't know about you, but I'd really only want that to be shown to me or someone who has access to unlock my phone, so that way that will be hidden until your phone is unlocked. Now, kind of on the subject of security and privacy, let's talk about passwords. Have you ever had to type in a password on your phone in public? Not ideal, of course, but you kind of have to do that a little bit discreetly. Well, there's a setting that we could turn on to make that a lot easier and also more secure, and that is called invisible passwords. So over on settings here, we're going to scroll to where we find security and privacy, right there. And then we're going to scroll down to where we find more security settings. And then here we have make passwords visible, and you want to make sure that this setting is turned off. So what does this mean? Well, you know how when you type in a password on your phone, it will first show up as a black dot and then, first as a character briefly, and then switch over to a black dot. This way, it will never show that character and immediately show as a black dot, making it much harder for someone, say, around you to see what it is you are typing. So much more secure. Definitely recommend you turn that feature off, again, if you ever need to type in your password in public. Now, another thing I want to show you quickly in settings here, of course, in this video, we've gone through so many different settings. If, say, there is one that you don't exactly know where to find, but you remember the name of, what you can do is you can now actually search in settings to find it. So let's talk about the always on display, which we'll actually talk about next. We can go ahead and search the word always, bring us right to that setting, and then it's going to highlight and show you what setting it is to find. So using search in settings has been greatly upgraded because it now also uses AI, so it's going to be a lot easier to find if there is a specific setting that you find yourself looking for. Now, as I alluded to earlier, now I want to take a look at the always on display, as I think particularly on the Flip 7, that is a really fun and useful feature to have turned on. So to do this, we're going to jump into settings, and then we're going to go into lock screen and AOD right here. And then we're going to tap onto always on display and turn this on. Now we can tap into this menu to customize this further. So for example, we can choose whether to show or hide the wallpaper. You see that gives you a little preview here. Personally, I like to have the wallpaper off. I find that to be a little bit too bright. It's a little bit too distracting. Also takes up more battery. This way we just have the text shown, really just the essentials as well. And then we have when to show. This one's useful because of course, you don't want your always on display on when your phone is in your pocket or say late at night when it's charging. So I think auto here does a great job at gauging whether it should or shouldn't activate the always on display. So once you have that set up, as you can see here, if I go ahead and close the phone, put it on the table, the always on display will now wake. So when I look at my phone from a distance, I can quickly see the time and the temperature without having to unlock the phone. So I think this here is my recommended setup for the always on display on the Flip 7. And then I want to show you how to name your Flip 7. This is going to make it much easier to find it if, say, you're trying to connect to it via hotspot, or you want to send it something via Bluetooth, whatever it may be. You want to make sure you connect to the right phone. And to do that, we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom, tap on About This Phone, and then voila, in here, we can rename the phone. And you want to name it to something, of course, that you will recognize. But this is also good for security because this way, well, you're connecting to the right phone. So there you have it. Those are 27 settings that you need to change on the Galaxy Z Flip 7. Let me know if you have any questions at all, and if this video was helpful to you, be sure to leave a like and also subscribe to see more videos like this in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.